Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Frederic Chiu. I'm a concert pianist. I play all over the world. I started piano lessons at age 6. By age 14, I was playing as a soloist with professional orchestras. I won many competitions, and I went to 2 of the greatest music schools in the world. And at age 24, I was forced to stop practicing the piano. And I want to tell you how that happened. Starting from the beginning, I had a series of teachers who really gave me the essentials of what makes me a pianist today. My first teacher was a woman who taught local children in the neighborhood. She taught me a good hand position, the names of the notes. Every good boy does fine. You all know what that means. And I did that very easily and without much practicing. It wasn't very challenging. My parents noticed this, so after a few years of that, they switched teachers, and I started studying with a college-level teacher who had a real practice regimen set out for me. So I started doing scales and arpeggios and exercises, and not only did I have 2 hours of work to do every day, I had to do all of that wearing these. They're about 5 pounds each, bracelets that I can't even get my hands in now, but my 10-year-old hands and arms could fit into these. I did all of my exercises with these industrial cast iron bracelets. And I think my favorite moment from those years was after doing that, taking them off and running through my exercises one last time. And there was a sense of freedom, and my fingers just flew over the keyboard, and I love that playing fast and playing loud. When I went to college, my teacher, a new teacher, taught me how to listen. And piano playing, of course, is more than moving the fingers. It's about the sounds that you produce. And over the years of college, I trained myself to be more observant of the sounds that were coming out of the piano, how they related to the way I attacked the keys, how you use the pedal, and combining that with the playing to create a real tonal palette to use for your music. I also was immersed in all my classes and all the nitty-gritty of music, so all the music theory, music history, all the dates and names and things like that. When I graduated college and went to graduate school, I was fortunate enough to study with one of the living legends of the piano world. He's 91 today and still playing. And at the time, already I was very impressed with the fact that he was from this generation of pianists that included Joseph Hoffman, Sergei Rachmaninoff, Vladimir Horowitz. He knew them personally, told me stories about them. And I think the key word to that generation was about personal expression. It was about their emotions and how they were expressing them at the piano, and that was what I got from him. When I finished school then, I really felt that I was well equipped to embark on this career as a concert pianist. My body had been trained through the cast iron bracelets. My mind had been opened in school, and the emotional connections that I needed to make with the music and the composers and the audience, that was something that I worked on. And all of this I did through practicing at the piano. And by the time I finished school, I was on a schedule of about 6 hours of practicing a day, 7 days a week. So 6 times 7, that's 42 hours. So that was a full-time job. I had an opportunity to play in Paris. And of course, I went there, and like all self-respecting artists, I fell in love with Paris, and I found a way to stay a little bit longer. I applied for an artist residency in a beautiful building on the Seine. I would have an apartment with my own piano at my disposal. I could practice as much as I want, and I had a view of the Notre Dame Cathedral. I thought this was great. So I prepared my move to Paris. When I arrived, through different circumstances, different reasons, I wasn't able to move in to the apartment right away. And I didn't have that much money, and the teacher who had arranged all of this for me very generously offered the use of a small studio apartment that he had in the Eiffel Tower district. I said, that was great, thank you very much. We went there. It was actually his storage closet. It wasn't really a studio. It was very small. We cleared some space, put a mattress down. There was no piano, of course, in this space, and there wasn't even a kitchen, and there wasn't even a bathroom. There was a toilet on the stair landing for that floor of the building. But I thought for a few days I could certainly take this kind of roughing it lifestyle. They say in Paris that luxuries are necessities and necessities are luxuries, and I was certainly enjoying baguettes and wine and all that kind of stuff. For a few days, I could go without practicing. Long story short, I ended up staying there 7 months. And when it became clear to me that this was going to be a long-term situation and I didn't have a piano and I couldn't do my 6 hours of practicing, I started to panic. I had concerts to perform, I had auditions to prepare for, I had new pieces to learn, and I needed to do my 6 hours a day. So I got on the phone and I called all the people that I knew in Paris, there weren't that many, asking them if they had pianos, if I could come and practice. I asked them if they knew people who had pianos, and I would meet a lot of new people during this 7-month period, and I would ask them, the first thing was, do you have a piano? And my second question would be, could I come over sometime and practice on it? And in this way, I cobbled together what I could around the city, the different pianos that I would use on different days. But it was never 6 hours, and it wasn't even every day. There were weekends, holidays, and all that commuting time I was using to get to these pianos. I ended up, if I was lucky, with 1 or 2 hours every other day or so. And so with nothing else possible to do, I decided to try some other practicing techniques. So I opened my score, and one of the things I did was I copied the score by hand. Copied out all the notes, so I'm trying to embed every single note into my memory through this different way. I also did what I now understand is meditation, but at the time it was this technique called DMG, desperate mental grasping. Just trying to do whatever I could, imagining in my mind, trying to see the score photographically in my mind, trying to hear the music, how do these notes actually sound, trying to see the keyboard and my fingers to work out fingerings, even though I wasn't sitting at the keyboard itself. I also used the time after my very short practice sessions. They were always very frustrating. I always had to stop before I was ready. I used the time on the bus or the metro back home to review what I had done. I would say, did I play that passage? I don't remember what I did. Did I make mistakes? Do I need to do it again tomorrow? And so this eventually became kind of a routine, preparing, practicing, reviewing, preparing, practicing, reviewing. And it seemed to be more efficient than just the straight practicing that I was doing. I was getting some work accomplished, but of course, when I sat down to play my first concert, I was a complete nervous wreck because I hadn't practiced what I considered normal time, 6 hours. I don't remember too much detail about those first concerts. It was kind of a blur, but I do remember the voice in my mind that kept asking, have you practiced 6 hours today? And the answer was no. Did you practice 6 hours yesterday? The answer was no. Did you practice 6 hours any day this month? And the answer was always no. And I always felt like I was not ready to play at my peak if I had not practiced those 6 hours. As the 7 months unfolded and I played my concerts, I realized that I was not crashing and burning. My reputation was not completely in smithereens. People, in fact, seemed to enjoy my concerts. And so this sense of confidence began to build that somehow, even though I wasn't doing my usual 6 hours, I was able to get something done and I was able to connect with people in concerts. Well, finally, the 7 months ended and I was able to finally move into this apartment. And I very happily moved the piano next to the window and I sat down and I saw the Notre Dame Cathedral and I practiced for 6 hours that first day. I practiced 6 hours the next day. I practiced 6 hours for an entire week. And at the end of that, I sat back and I felt like we all feel at the Thanksgiving dinner table, after dinner we ate too much. I'm just sitting there, Not only did I feel sick, not only were my fingers completely pummeled, my mind a jumble, but I also felt like I was missing something despite having put in all those hours, and that was something that I had discovered during those 7 months. And that meant that practicing 1 to 2 hours every other day or so was enough. And not only was it enough, it gave me something that I didn't have. Physically, it gave me a chance to relax. It gave my muscles a chance to strengthen without being exhausted. My fingers were more sensitive to touch. I had more control of the nuance. My mind actually had a chance to think. I had a chance to prepare. My memory was much more solid. This meditation that I was doing actually allowed me to play through an entire piece from beginning to end, imagining the sound, imagining the score, imagining the physical movements that I was doing. And emotionally, I had passed this very difficult hurdle, going from the idea of associating drudgery practice with being a good boy, the idea of performing with the idea that I was not prepared. I had changed that into performing equals confidence and practice equals freedom. That same freedom I felt when I took the bracelets off when I was 10 years old, I felt that when I finally stopped practicing and started loving making music. And this is what I do today. All those years have gone by, and I still keep to this schedule of 1 to 2 hours every other day or so. Sometimes when I have more work, I do a little more practicing. Sometimes when I have less, I do less. But basically, I feel a sense of freedom because I'm practicing my body, my mind, and my heart in a different way than sitting at the piano. I also teach now this method in a series of workshops I call Deeper Performance Studies, where I take pianists and other performers through a weekend where I take them through some exercises that also encourage them to learn to stop practicing and love making music. So I'd like to finish by playing another piece by Chopin. The first piece was one of the etudes. This is a companion etude from a groundbreaking set that Chopin wrote when he was just a few years younger than I was when I had this experience of not being able to practice. And I want to tell you a little story related to Chopin. One of the pianos during this DMG period, it was in the 9th arrondissement of Paris on the Chaussée d'Antin. And it was just an upright piano a local teacher was offering me to use. And I found the address, and I'm standing in front of the building at the door to the courtyard, and I see a plaque on the side of the building that said, Frederic Chopin lived in this building from 1833 to 1836. And all of a sudden, all the dates and all the opus numbers, all the names, all these dry facts from Music Theory 101 started coming back to me. I realized 1833, that was the year that he published those etudes. He was 23. He had just moved to Paris. I was 24. I could really empathize with that. I was standing on that road that he stood on. In fact, I could see Frederic Chopin walking up the cobblestone street. I could see him entering that building. I imagined him going up the stairs with his hand on the handrail that I now had my hand on, and all of a sudden the notes in the score became sounds in my mind. And those sounds, I imagined, were the same sounds that Chopin had in his mind. And those were the sounds that he was searching for when he played his piano, trying to get the music out for other people. And I think this connection that I had with Chopin, this epiphany moment that I had, I would not have been able to experience that in that way had I not learned to stop practicing and love making music. So this is Opus 10, number 3, Etude by Frederic Chopin.